What about setting the price? And clearly, it's different for eBay. You setting the take rate for the on the supply side, and like you said, Airbnb is more setting a take or a fee for the guest, but also now shifting towards a take rate for the more traditional take rate for the supply. I mean, how did you think about setting the take rate? Firstly, eBay, and then this fee on Airbnb.
Yeah, so that's a really interesting question, and I think that there have been others that have asked that relative to different platforms, and I think um, I think of it as you think about, say, food delivery in particularly given sort of our current um, situation with COVID-19 is one, and not addressing that specifically relative to the current circumstances, but I think by giving the the buyer the opportunity and setting prices for the buyer, it'll ultimately be up to the buyer to determine whether or not they're willing to pay that price. I reflect as a kid growing up, um, the local market gardener would drive a truck around the streets and ring a bell, and my mum used to go out and pay for her, her fruit and vegetables directly from the market gardener. Um, there was a level of convenience that came with that, and then you may have been willing, either there certainly was no middleman in the process, but you were willing to pay perhaps a little more or pay a premium for having the opportunity to buy direct and to buy it from your home. Um, I think in the current day and age, there have been some challenges over time with different businesses in terms of charging fees for products to be delivered. I think the giving the buyer the opportunity to choose, do they pick it up? Do they have it delivered? Do they have it delivered faster? And providing those variable prices for that, I think, is a really interesting new normal. And if we reflect on that from an Airbnb point of view, giving the visibility to the guest in terms of how much they're paying for a fee, they'll be able to make those trade-offs, particularly in a world where comparisons are so readily available, provided those comparisons can be provided on an apples to apples basis. I think putting the power in the hands of the consumer or the guest in Airbnb situation, I think is really interesting. Then it's finding that price. What are they willing to pay, and and how can that be toggled, and understanding that behaviour so that businesses can find that point of optimal return.
Hmm. How did you look at finding that optimal take rate?
Um, well, um, at Airbnb, the the take rate as part of the service fee wasn't necessarily defined at a set rate. It was based on an algorithm in terms of the price of the property. Normally, the higher the nightly price, the lower the take. Um, the length of stay, the longer the stay, the lower the take, and so that effectively moved. Um, but one of the things, and I think Airbnb, I imagine, will continue to look at this, will be um, um, is there more margin available to the business? Should there be less margin available to the business? Provided that they're transparent in terms of, and the guest knows what they're paying when they see the service fee and the total price. And of course, there's guidelines and regulations around how prices and pricing should be surfaced to the consumer globally. Maybe it's different country by country, but those things are very important. So I think it's understanding what can provide the optimal return to the business without the consumer feeling like they're paying too much.